Good afternoon, Tom Ginn. Own your own health. I'll be right back. Good afternoon, Tom Ginn. Own your own health. This is a special day for many reasons. Number one, my guest, who I'm bringing in, I recently saw her on another live stream with Ken Walls on Breakthrough Walls, and I was very impressed of her story. But today is the inaugural of Own Your Own Health. My wife and I, we own a wellness center. I've been in business for myself for, I'm going to date myself, since 1983. And I just love people that are creative, that entrepreneurial in their spirit, and have a great message. And, we live in a culture today that sad facts is that 6 out of 10 people in America today have a chronic illness of some sort. Much of it can be prevented or mitigated through proper health practices or lifestyles. And so my mission today is just to bring new levels of awareness, to have people start questioning how they look at their health, not taking anything away from Western medicine or anything like that. There's places for that. But a lot of what we can do in our health, we can take control. Own your own health is my message here today. So I'm really excited for my very first guest on this program, and Dr. Ruby Lathon. So Ruby, are you ready to come on in?
Lathon, how are you?
I am absolutely excited, nervous at the same time. So to be honest with you, but I'm grateful that you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is, just defer to you. Tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, your journey to where you are today. Mm-hmm. And we want to encourage our audience to tag and share.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Turn on your notifications. Because what I do in my other businesses, I want to do a full disclosure that staying in compliance, especially on my side, because I am a public figure and I do represent a company that's controlled by the FDA. So I'm not making any medical claims, cures, or anything like that. We just want to make sure that what we're talking about today for my compliance is that we're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, just to stay in compliance. So with that all said, Ruby, I'm welcome aboard, and I'm going to defer to you to share your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, I am a holistic nutritionist and health coach and vegan chef, entrepreneur. But it didn't start that way. I started my initial career was in engineering. I have a PhD in industrial and systems engineering. I was working at a defense lab in New Mexico, and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which was shocking to me to have any kind of cancer. And I decided that I wanted to use natural or quote alternative methods to heal myself. And basically, I did not want to do surgery, which would remove my thyroid and require me to be on medication forever. Just didn't sound like something I wanted to do. The idea of being dependent on a pharmaceutical that I have to get every month from this place, it didn't sit well with my spirit. And so I said, I'm going to look in alternative natural methods to heal my body. I've heard other people heal themselves of cancer. I should be able to do the same thing, and I'm going to research and find out how. So I started from day one researching what causes cancer, how to heal cancer, what causes thyroid cancer. And a lot of what I came upon initially was just diet, and changing to a whole food, plant-based diet could give me the results I wanted. And so I got rid of all the junk food, the cheese, the dairy, any meat products or byproducts, and started eating, from the earth, basically natural foods, lots of greens, lots of herbal teas that have shown to help heal the body. Lots of different supplements that I researched and tried, and so really kind of got a better understanding of how the body works, how the body uses different supplements and nutrition, from reducing inflammation to supporting the immune system, to removing toxins that we might be putting in our bodies. So all those things together. So long story short, because it is a long story, because I gave myself a year for this healing journey. Even though I thought it was going to be done just like that, I decided to give myself some time, because cancer usually doesn't pop up overnight. It grows over time by the time we realize it's there. So I was like, let me give myself some time to let it go away. And in that process, I started focusing on, I started with the food, the nutrition, the supplements. And then I started looking at lifestyle and stress and meditation and visualization, because there's a lot of fear that comes along with cancer diagnosis and with the cancer diagnosis. And so I was having my endocrinologist monitor the cancerous nodule by ultrasound, because I was expecting it to shrink. But it wasn't shrinking. And each time I would go, he would be very negative and discouraging. So I said, this guy works for me. So why am I paying to go and be discouraged every few months? I'm going to find somebody else who can know that I care about myself more than anybody else. So I'm going to do what's best for me and just monitor without all the side talk, without the negativity and discouragement. So I found another endocrinologist who agreed to do that. So it was a much more pleasant experience. And I just decided, I was going to go when I was ready for another checkup, when I felt healed. And I'm like, I learned to get in tune with my body and to know what I needed emotionally and physically, and to just be more in tune. And so after about a year, and in between, my thyroid did shrink because it was enlarged. It did shrink to its normal size. And so I knew my body was responding. I went for the last ultrasound. It was still there, but something told me, it was that gut instinct that you should probably do another biopsy now, because sometimes tumors don't go away. They just encapsulate, like your body just neutralizes the threat. It's still there, but it's no longer a threat because it has been dealt with. So I requested another ultrasound, and the doctor reluctantly did it. And we tested all the little nodules on there, and every one of them, we did somewhere between 12 and 20 nodule pricks with a fine needle aspiration, they call it, where they're taking all these samples. So he went through each one. So a week later, the results are back, and he's going through each one page at a time. This one doesn't show any cancer. This one doesn't. And I was expecting, the way he was going slow and sounding sad, that we were going to get to a page that said this one, but this one has cancer. But we got to the last page, and there is no cancer in any of them. And I was ecstatic. I was jumping for joy on the inside, literally. And he said, so yeah, because there's no cancer found, I have to change your diagnosis to no longer being a cancer patient. So I watched him change that diagnosis, and then I'm like, I'm getting out of here before anything else changes. And I just went to my car, called family, and just cried in joy. And that weekend, this was like a Wednesday, and then that weekend, Saturday evening, I had a wellness party, because I was planning to have a wellness party because I was planning to be well. And so we pulled it together at the last minute and just celebrated, just something that felt miraculous at the time. But now that I know so much more, it's not miraculous. It's science. It's understanding the body. It's understanding the mind-body connection. It's understanding that cancer is not this big scary thing that we make it out to be when you know what to do. And
Yeah.
so it was just a huge celebration, and it changed my life. So I decided I didn't want to work in defense anymore, because it was like the antithesis of my personality and what I'm about. I'm about helping and bringing life to people, not optimizing death machines. So I said, I'm not going back to that. I'm just going to follow my heart on what I would do for free if I could. And that's how I eventually got into holistic nutrition and helping other people find their way.
Well, I have a couple questions. You made, you were diagnosed, and of course that I had a situation where I had something on my ear, and the doctor said, I think it's this and that or whatever, but we'll do a biopsy. And of course, the other thing, he put the big C word in that diagnosis. And it's amazing. You don't know how you're going to respond or react until you hear that word. Right. And thank God it came out to something that wasn't the worst case, and they took it off and all that. But it's really disturbing. And we operate that triggers a mechanism of fear, and sometimes that fear gets us stuck, or we just make decisions before we had an opportunity to really look at things.
Right.
And you said you did a lot of research. And I think this is important because there's so many modalities or therapies or ways and stuff, and people think they go to Google and think they're getting research. That's not a research engine. What resources did you use to get validation, science around nutrition and food and relationship? Again, what were some of the, because I think it's important for people to know, because we can go to Google, we can get all sorts of stuff that's not factual. What resources did you use being an engineer and a scientist type person? What were the resources you did? Because I think it's important to know that it's just not something nebulous.
That's a great question. Because I was an engineer, and because when you write a dissertation and everything, you learn how to do research. You learn how to determine if the research is valid. You determine what sources are valid. You learn how to use your logic to determine what is opinion versus fact. What makes a sound study? What makes a not a good study? How much sample size do you need? All that kind of stuff to make it a sound study. What kind of statistics did you use to get to this conclusion? Because you can easily manipulate statistics. And I had a minor in statistics. So the resources that I used were medical journals when I was researching cancer and things that helped affect cancer. Especially looking at radiation and cancer. And so there were a lot. So I was reading what some people might think is difficult, but I was used to reading in-depth, detailed reports and studies. So those were the things that I was looking for to say, what out there is showing some evidence that this works? What is showing how cancer is developed? Because I'm figuring if I can kind of figure out how I got it, then I can reverse engineer that and get to where I want. Yeah. And so I was focusing a lot on thyroid cancer, and there are a lot of reasons that happens, from excess radiation, excess dental x-rays, things like that, various things. I even went to have the radiation in my body measured, because I knew radiation was a factor. And so through the laboratory, they had a facility for lab employees that could get tested. And I did have a high level of a radioactive substance that shouldn't have been there. Californium was one of those things that shouldn't have really been in my system. And so when I got that information, I was like, okay, I think I know what to do now. Let's work on getting radiation out of the body. But to finish your question. So I used journals. I used reports from people who had, degrees and things. I did read anecdotal stories from people who were healed doing various things as well. Because I'm like, I want to read it all and then come to my own conclusion about, what I want to do. I read books about natural healing from doctors and MDs and surgeons who endorsed the natural approach and the mind-body connection through the cases that they'd seen. So when I started reading those books and started reading the journal articles and also started reading the anecdotal information that isn't a scientific study, but it's a first-person account of what happened to them, and over. And so all of that together brought me to the conclusion, okay, it makes sense that plants work. I didn't read a single study or anecdotal story about a person who ate beef and chicken and eggs to heal. There was not a single account of that. Everybody was saying, I ate plant foods. I got rid of this. I got rid of that, and added these herbal things and added these fresh vegetables and added all these natural things. So I knew I was on the right track with that. It just makes scientific sense. And then we think about alkalinity in the body and how that affects cancer. So there's a bunch of things that came together over time. And then also, I want to emphasize the fact of emotions and how, for me, that was the last piece of it, because I was on this, I'm very scientific engineer, everything has to add up. And I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling is really gonna, make a difference. But when I started reading about how emotions change your body physiology, then that made sense. And that you could measure the differences in your body, in your blood, based on how happy you are and how sad you are and how fearful you are, and the hormones that are emitted from those different emotions and how that affects your body over time. I was like, this makes sense. You can't do this in a vacuum. It's a holistic approach from your diet and your mindset and your belief system.
Yeah, I'm a personal development, because you don't know a lot about what I do. I'm a Bob Proctor certified coach, and working at the subconscious level, and our thinking and our emotions. Stress is the number one cause of chronic illness, and stress comes from all different areas. We have mental stresses, we have environmental stresses,
right?
But when it comes to our attitude and beliefs around health, and that, they've done the research that they can look at a cell, somebody has a negative disposition or a thought about their health or the prognosis or the diagnosis they have, and they can actually see how the cell responds. It's negative. I'm not getting into the science.
Right.
And once they switch their thinking into a more positive, the neurochemistry changes, and the chemistry of those cells start doing what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So our mind, I believe our mind is probably the most important thing.
It is, to me, it is the most important thing, even though I started with the nutrition, because that's what made sense to me. I started seeing more results when I had the mindset right. Absolutely. And I understand now why. Because you can drink all the green juice you want and get your body in an alkaline state, but as soon as you let that fear come in and this anger or resentment sit there, it's going to undo all of that. It overrides everything. So the mental state that you're in is the most important. And for me, when I finally, because I was trying, like I said in the beginning, I was really trying to figure out why I got this. And so at that point, you're not really focusing on the solution, you're kind of focusing on the problem. And once I felt like I got enough of an answer, I said, I'm just going to switch to healing. And I'm not going to focus anymore on who to blame for this, or, because I was thinking I should sue because it's here. I probably got it from this place. And then I was like, do you want to put your energy in a fight like that? Or do you want to put your energy into healing? And I said, you know what, I'm going to put my energy into healing, because that's what's most important to me. And so once I switched from the problem and then just focused on the solution, I decided to take a vacation, which I hadn't taken enough of. 3 weeks in Mexico, off season, so nobody was there on this little island. And I'm sitting by the beach by myself, and in the most beautiful beach I've seen, in blue waters, on a nice, bench with like guacamole and juice. And that's when just enjoying the beauty of nature, that's when it came to me on what I needed to do in terms of my nutrition plan, because I was doing so much that I was stressing myself out with the whole plan itself. And so it's like an epiphany came to me, like, here are the 3 things you need to focus on: reducing inflammation in the body, supporting your immune system, and then just giving your body, basic nutrition of what it needs and not putting any, inflammatory things in. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I can do that. I don't have to take 1,000 different herbs and supplements for that, because many things are redundant. You don't have to do them all. Nature is full of things that heal. It's like almost in every plant, there's some healing property. So you don't have to take them all. So I could relax. And I was like, this makes sense. I got the plan. I came back, implemented that plan, started meditating every day, started visualizing, healing, got rid of the fear, and just said, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to accept the outcome because I've done all I can do. And if for some reason the cancer doesn't go away, I will reconsider the surgery. But there was no way I was going to do it without doing everything in my power before that point.
Yeah. And I think it's knowing all your options so that you can make a decision for yourself. I think that's part of the healing process. Our bodies are magnificent. They're perfectly designed when we really understand how they work. Given the right resources, the right tools, our body will know what to do with it. It's I call it the inner doctor.
It is. Everybody has one. And it's getting in touch with it is the thing. I think a lot of us are so busy that we don't know how, we don't hear when our intuition is talking to us. Yeah. We just take it as a passing thought. But when you sit down and be quiet and get comfortable with yourself and nothing else happening, because what I was doing on that beach was basically meditating without realizing I was meditating. I was just sitting there watching the waves and that's a form of meditation because I'm not thinking about anything else. And that's when you can hear your intuition speak. And the more you get in touch with that, the easier life is and the more confidence that you can have in yourself. So while I might have been confident in my research abilities and all of that, you don't have to be able to do that if you are in touch with your intuition and your inner voice. That is that's our God-given guidance system.
Starting this when you got the news and all that, our medical Western system is fabulous in what it does. It does some things phenomenal. If I break something and need something, I trust that we have the resources. But unfortunately, the whole medical system is that doctors don't. I forget how many hours of nutrition they even study.
About 8 max.
I was going to say it's less than 10 is what my understanding is.
Yeah.
And that our nutrition and understand nutrition, how without nutrition, we have no fuel to burn to create our life, right?
Exactly. Because basically live food is energy. It's electric. It's what powers our cells. And so when we're eating lots of dead processed food, that's not even really food. Some of it is so far removed from actual food. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. And that's why we have so much obesity and sickness and depression and mental illness, because we are undernourished, overfed with garbage like food. And so we're just not giving ourselves what they need.
And so that really is what you're doing. I'm going to get right back into your story, because I think that's, you did the research and all that. Is we got to be more conscious. We understand what real food is. I don't think people understand what real food is. Most of the stuff that we get processed is not real food anymore.
Right.
It's a combination of chemicals and processes, and the nutritional values there are farming techniques. And we're going to get into the movie the documentary is designed to produce bulk stuff that we can eat, but it's not really designed to provide true nutrition. And so there's a mission. Know what you eat, I think, is important.
Absolutely. Definitely know what's in your food and stay away from the preservatives, stay away from the food colorings, stay away from all the things that you can't pronounce, all the chemicals, all the MSG, the aspartame, the high fructose corn syrup, and all of those things. if you are, and go toward more organic foods, you don't have to eat 100% organic, but if you go more toward organic packaged foods, you tend to leave out a lot of those just by nature of it being organic. But just eating fruits and vegetables, period, whether they're organic or not, have healing properties. And generally, what I found based on the research, that even when plant foods are not organic, they don't pose the same problems as if you were eating animal products with that. So it's like, let's say for whatever reason you can't afford organic fruits and veggies, even though those have pesticides on them, they don't get activated until you're having more than 10% of your diet as meat, animal protein. So it's protective in and of itself, even in the face of toxins, which I found quite amazing. That there's studies out there. There's a book called The China Study. There's a movie called Forks Over Knives that outlines that pretty much cancer cells tend to be more triggered when you eat more than 10% of your diet as animal products. Under that 10%, the cancer cells tended not to be triggered. Over the 10%, when you had other toxins and things in your body, that's when it tended to be triggered. So plant foods are protective, period, whether they're organic or not. And that's just a whole nother topic. Yeah.
Yeah, that leads, just what you said there, the movie, What the Health.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced that through Ken Walls and
Mm-hmm.
one of his participants. You were featured in that documentary. You're not featured, but you were participating in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was shocking.
Mm-hmm.
I was grown up that meat's good, and and it's been a process. My wife's a holistic practitioner, and
Mm-hmm.
she's the healthiest person. Can you believe that she's probably the only person that I ever met in my entire life that's never eaten a McDonald's product? Nothing.
Yeah.
Never even been in. She's been in it with her nieces and nephews, but she's never eaten a McDonald's.
Yeah, I haven't met anybody who's not eating at McDonald's, so that is a rarity for sure.
But she made a decision knowing that
Good for
what made
her.
her feel good. She recognized when she ate beef or fried foods or whatever processed foods, she didn't feel well. So she just followed her body. And when she ate something that was healthy, and
Yeah.
then she just created that process of habit. And she's unbelievably healthy. And
Yeah.
but we are culturally programmed.
Mm-hmm.
The foods are processed; they're addictive with sugar.
They are.
And
Sugar, salt, and fat is the trifecta for addiction. So when you combine those three, you get such a dopamine rush. It's like an addiction, basically. Our bodies are not designed for that, and we get programmed from very young to like that kind of food. So it's hard when you finally realize, oh, this is not good for me. And all the foods that are marketed toward kids are junk food. It's you go to any restaurant, the kids menu is always chicken nuggets and cheese, something with cheese. So that's the kids menu, and they're like, oh, the chips. I keep chips in the house for the kids. I keep cookies and chips for the kids. It's like, why do we think it's okay for kids to have that? Because they're not gaining all the weight right away and all of that. But so kids are programmed, and we grow up loving it, and then we become adults and it starts showing, and then we have to work to break the addiction, and we have to, and it gets reinforced with the commercials, and it gets forced when you eat out, and that's all that's on the menu. So it becomes just a natural way of life, and we think that this is real food, and it's absolutely not. And then one of the things that I think is brought out in the movie What the Health is that a lot of the same pharmaceutical companies invest in fast food, in the fast food industry. I think because they're creating their own clients. So let's push the garbage food that will ensure that they end up in our sick care system and never get well. But if they're like somebody like me who pops up with thyroid cancer, now she's in the system and she's trapped. And now we get to sell her a pharmaceutical for the rest of her life, and there's nothing she can do about it. And that is the trap. And that's what I felt, honestly, when I was given the diagnosis and I asked the doctor what were the alternatives, and he was like, oh, there are none, and we'll just schedule your surgery for this, and we'll do that. I was like, you didn't even ask me if I was going to do that, if I wanted to do that. You just started taking over my life. And I was like, absolutely not. If I've been a rebel since I was like 10 years old. Nobody tells me what to do. I was like, my parents barely can tell me what to do when I was a kid. So I'm certainly not going to just give you my life. And I felt like I was being inducted into a money-making machine at that moment. That was the overriding feeling, like, oh, I'm just going to be a cog in this cancer system. The step one is the diagnosis. Step two is to cut out a fully functioning organ. Step three is your recovery. Step four is medication forever. And now you come every 6 months to adjust your medication to make sure, you're feeling okay. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. You made a very, 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 those are, we need to wake up. People need to question what's going on. And I'm in a positive way and in a negative way at the same time. If we can do that, there's a place for if I got in an accident, I need something to relieve pain.
Absolutely.
Thank God they have something.
If I broke a bone, I'm going to the doctor. I'm going to the hospital. When I broke my foot accidentally, obviously, I go get the cast. I do the little surgery that I need to fix my foot. Absolutely. But that's different. These acute things that happen to us, that's what American medicine is best at. What they are worst at is chronic disease. And because we've named it chronic, means it's going to remain chronic, meaning it'll never end. So the fact that we call diabetes and heart disease and cancer chronic is saying we're planning for it to never go away because it makes us money that way. And that's why we haven't found a cure for cancer in the last 100 years. I'm like, of all the genius people that I've met in my life, there's no way not one of them have found a real solution to this. But those kind of solutions get suppressed because the entire billion-dollar cancer industry would collapse. And I see organizations that are supposed to be about, finding a cure, but they're also partnering with KFC and McDonald's. And I was like, how opposite is that? It's like you're partnering with the people and they're partnering with yogurt companies and milk. And I was like, all of those things are shown to cause cancer. The World Health Organization came out with a study like 5 years ago that showed eating like the equivalent of a hot dog a day raised your risk for developing cancer as if you smoked, like a regular pack-a-day smoker. Okay, that's how much your risk for getting cancer goes up when you eat processed meat about the size of a hot dog a day, 50 grams, okay? That should have been news all over the place, but they suppressed that news, but it's out there. I saw tiny little blurbs of it, and people were like just not wanting to hear that. But that's the news we needed to hear because so many people are eating salami and pepperoni and processed lunch meats like it's nothing. And those have been shown to be carcinogenic on class 1 carcinogens.
Yeah. We're talking about this and we sort of look at what's happened over time. If you look back in the 60s, and I think it's important if you start questioning, and then I want to get into some of the specifics as you do, is if we look back in the 60s, the American population was the healthiest in the world. And there's a lot of reasons. Number one, we had food that had nutrition in it, and the farming, we didn't have as many chemicals, didn't have much processing, and we were number one in health. Today, the American people are number 72 in the world, behind Nicaragua. Mm-hmm. We have gotten sicker. We should be the healthiest society in the world because of our capability of having access.
Because of the capability to produce food and transport it and all the things that we are capable of, the advances in farming and all of that, we should be number one. But what we have done is we've let capitalist organizations take over the food system and take away the nutrition of it. So we don't have nutritionists, determining how food should be made. And we have organizations that are only about money making food. And so they're like, how can we sell the most of this product? Let's make it salty. Let's make it high sugar, high salt, high fat, because that's addictive. And so they pump that out. So we've let people who care nothing about health or food manufacture and basically hijack our food production system into making garbage for us on a regular basis because they only care about the money. And then you have the same thing happening with the medical system, which is why we are the sickest in the world, or among the sickest, because we've let organizations that only care about the money run our research and our healthcare. And so when you do that, then they're only driven by things that are going to make money. So it doesn't make money if everybody's well. If I don't have to go get diabetes medication, and I don't have to go see the doctor 5 times a year, and if I don't have to get a foot cut off, or if I don't have to have an open heart surgery, so many people are going to lose their jobs. The insurance companies and all the hospitals aren't going to make as much money because, and then people aren't going to be beholden to their jobs as much because they're already well. So you have a system that is purposely trapping people because of the money. It's all about the money. And so when you put those two together, you're never going to get the outcome that you want because it makes more money for a person to be sick than it does to be well. And that's the bottom line. And
I'll close with this, and we'll get into some of the things you're doing, because I want people to know how to, touch into your knowledge and your resources and whatever you have to offer. But going back to what you just said there, I just recently read in a book. I do a lot of reading, and over the last 20 years, a lot of people go on to become doctors for the right reason.
Yes.
But the system trains them to support the system, not about health. I've got a lot of doctor friends and people in that industry. They're leaving it because they can't practice
in good conscience.
They can't do the right thing. They're dictated by this. So in the last 20 years, the amount of health practitioners, doctors, and professionals being trained in, quote, supposedly health sciences are leaving, and not as many coming in. So it's been a flat line of amount of people. We need more practitioners because the demand is there. I mean, we got a lot of people. But here's the thing. In that same 20-year period, this is a question people should ask. That the administrative growth is 3,500%. And they are managing everything in how the American people manage their healthcare. The doctor can only do X, Y, and Z.
Right. And when you have a system where the doctor has to ask permission from the insurance company to do a procedure, then we know we're on the wrong track. I mean, how does that make any sense? And then we also have the pharmaceuticals that have hijacked the training of doctors to make it focus on primarily how to distribute medication as opposed to how to heal people. So more of their training is focused on that as opposed to true healing. So they're not even trained properly. And so when you talk to your doctor about, well, I'm changing my diet, they're like, okay, unless they've studied on their own, that means nothing to them because they've been trained to say that has no effect. And the only thing that affects is this medication and this and that and whatever. So the doctors are just cogs in the wheel too. Their power has been stripped. Their time with us has been whittled down to 15 minutes to do a whole checkup, 15 to 20 minutes max. And so they're like little, in the wheel, just trying to keep up. Yes, they're paid better than a lot of people, but they're still on that same wheel and being used to keep the system going.
Yeah. And I thank you very much for sharing this. I think it's important that people understand that there's a lot of going on that it's basically, I call orchestration to support whatever.
Right. And it's like, I just feel like we've got to wake up and demand better. And the thing that I'm excited about is we don't need government intervention to start eating better today. We can change what's on our plate today. We don't have to wait for the whole system to be overhauled. We can literally change the system by opting out of it, by living a healthier life, by saying, I'm going to take time to eat healthier food and to have a positive mindset and not have a quote chronic disease that does not have to be chronic at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how we change it, is we take control of our health, own your own health.
Yep.
Be informed, do some research, know where to go. And I think that's an educational process for the average person out there. You come with a scientific background, a research background, so you knew how to evaluate. But there's resources out there that if you could use, like PubMed.gov, you can put in condition and whatever it is, and you'll start seeing all the double-blind studies and the abstracts and all that stuff. You may not understand it, but you can start seeing that there's support under research that can validate what you're looking for.
Right.
And another one that I encourage people to do when it comes to health is scholar.google. That is true research. And have you familiar with that research engine?
Not that one, no.
You can put in there anything you want, and it will bring up all the research in and around those areas. So it's just another place that people use Google and all these other search engines. Anybody can put anything up. That doesn't mean
right. You have to find some trusted sources for
exactly.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I
like nutritionfacts.org is one that is run by a physician, and he actually goes through and reads all the studies. His motto is, I read all the studies so you don't have to, and whittles them down, but lists all the sources of all the information. Nutritionfacts.org is great. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine is another one that I've worked with, PCRM.org. Great scientifically backed information to support everything that's there. So those are another two that break it down in layman's terms, so you don't have to understand all the jargon that you often find in some of the medical studies.
Well, you're providing a wealth of just enlightening wisdom to lean into. But let's talk a little bit about, now that you've gone this journey and now you've taken your passion, you've created an enterprise out of it. Share a little bit about what you're doing, how to help people. I know you got a lot going on. I know you started your own food program on a local basis. I have a vision. I have a thinking here that you may want to do something bigger with it. I'm thinking. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. There's big plans. So this is the year of growth for me, even bigger, faster growth. So the start of what I've started with is coaching, is working with individuals, coaching and doing nutrition consultations, providing plans, and showing people how to use food as medicine to heal naturally. So I do that on a limited basis, so people can find that information on my website. The other things that because that's like line one, people want help to get well. So the other things that I do, kind of really grew out of that coaching. So I do a cooking show, which I'm going to be, taping more episodes, but it's a plant-based cooking show where healthy food is easy and delicious. You can find that on YouTube. It's also DCTV. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, you can watch it on cable TV. And then from there, so the show came about because people wanted to know how to prepare the food. I give recipes, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show you how to make the food. And then more recently, a year and a half ago, during COVID, we were already planning to launch a food delivery service because I had several clients who were really ill, and they were like, I just can't prepare the food. Can you prepare it for me? Because I taught cooking classes in addition to doing the cooking show. So a natural extension from that was to provide food where people can order it online and deliver it. It's organic, plant-based food. My recipes, all of them are chosen by me or that I developed, that we use, low sugar, no artificial sugars, no white sugar, none of that. Real food that I eat on a weekly basis. So I eat my own food. So my thing is, I will not serve people things that I would not eat, because, why would I do that? So it's organic food, because that's how I eat. I shop organic, primarily. It's healthy. It's, low salt, little to no oil, but it's delicious because that's what I do. I know how to make healthy food delicious. So That is in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So within about 45 miles of Washington, DC and Baltimore. Folks can go, if you know someone in those areas, you can gift them with food, or you can order it yourself if you're in that area. So that's exciting, and that's on my website, rubylathon.com. You'll see the link to that, which we call Ruby Red's Vegan Meal Delivery. And then I have online courses. So since I can't get to everyone, some people just want to take my Surviving Cancer course, which kind of walks you through my process. And then I also have How to Get Out of the Life You Created and course, which has changed people's lives, who reported they've literally moved and got into a whole new part of their career from taking that course. So because it's like I really did create a new life for myself after cancer, when I decided I really wasn't loving engineering. And so that course is just how to make, those big changes to get into the life that you really want and love.
Yeah. And that because when you do what you love, your stress goes down and lots of things change. Being an entrepreneur there's two types of stress. Some stress is very good, and other type of stress, most of the stress people hold on to, is not healthy. But I want to pose this to you, because you probably hear it all the time. They say, well, gee, organic and changing, eating healthier and doing this is so expensive. And I just say this, is that for every dollar we spend in a way that's giving us health, it's offsetting the cost of being sick, because it's a 50-to-1 ratio. So for every dollar you spend to invest in yourself for healthy, it could be exercise and nutrition, your organic foods. Yeah, you pay a little bit more for it. But what's the cost of not doing it? It's 50-to-1. Being sick is $50. Right. So if you're spending an extra $1,000 a year to have a better quality of food, to support a healthy lifestyle, you're offsetting 50-to-1, $50,000. And that's cumulative. So over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, look what happens. You get a chronic illness. It's a multi-million-dollar bill.
It is. It's an industry. Sickness is an industry. And until we change sickness from being an industry, it's going to remain that way. But we can disrupt it. And that's what, we want to talk about the problem, but we identify the problem, but we want to focus on the solution. Yes. And the solution is that we do actually have the power. And once we wake up to this crazy way of thinking that they've kind of pushed down our throats, and realize that, yes, you can heal cancer naturally. Yes, it's not as complicated as they make it sound. There are many survivors who've done it. And even if you don't do it naturally, you can survive it with supplementing with healthy food and juices. And also there's no shame in going through a natural traditional process of healing yourself, if that's what you feel you should do. But you can always make it better by, eating healthy and having the juices, having the fruits, having the veggies, having the positive mindset. Your outcomes are going to be much, much better regardless of the way you go. And you can definitely avoid it. Things like diabetes, which is such a billion-dollar industry, is one of the most reversible illnesses there is. I've seen people reverse this within a month, literally, by changing their diet within a month. But yet we have people who are dealing with neuropathy and going blind and having limbs cut off with a disease that could be reversed in 30 days. I'm like, and that's why I do what I do, because that fact alone is like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this. And we need to get this word out there and save ourselves. We have to save ourselves, because the corporations are not going to do it. Our government is not going to do it. We have to share this information. Start with saving yourself, getting yourself healthy, and then people will see how well you're doing. They're going to want to know what you're doing. They're going to come around as well. And you just share this information. And we've got to get more movies out, like What the Health and Forks Over Knives and Game Changers, that just break down this story.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Hopefully we've had a number of people come in, make comments as we've been talking, and encourage them to share this out. My business partner was on, Mark Gassert. He's associated with me in one of my businesses, and thanks, Mark, for jumping on. Robert, Saw a lot of number of shares. I just want to continue share this information out. Tag your friends. We never know this message can impact one person's life, and that's a very significant.
Absolutely.
Very significant. So it's a ripple effect.
Yes.
We drop the stone in the water.
And I feel like there's a wave coming. We've already dropped there's so many more people like me who are getting this word out, that a wave of change is coming. It cannot be stopped regardless of the money behind the sick care machines. The knowledge is out there now. So it's only going to grow. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the change that's coming in our food production, in our restaurants, in our wellness centers. I'm excited that people are taking charge of their health, because we've always had the power. It's just now that we're waking up to it and realizing that we can use it.
Yeah, so just bring a new level of awareness. That's all we can do.
Exactly.
And then that creates that questioning. I think we need to question. Most people don't question anything today. They just say, "Oh, that's the way it is. Okay, I'll just move that way."
Right.
And people are operating in a state of fear. Get out of fear. You can.
That's the thing. It's the fear, and that's what I'm like. Made a video the other day. Is like, how to get out of fear is by getting more in touch with yourself. Meditation is one of the main ways to get rid of fear, because when you calm your mind and hear your inner voice, the fear starts to dissipate, and then you focus on what you want, and those success stories reinforce yourself, and the fear goes away. You've got to focus away from the fear and just focus on the outcome that you want, and that fear starts to dissipate. And that works in all realms, not just illness, but everything.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll just say this. I heard this the other day from somebody I follow in the health arena, and he says, it's not the longevity that's important. It's the quality of the time we're here. People are focusing on the fear of death. We're all going to die. And that's just a matter of fact, some way or another.
Yeah.
We have a mortality. We got to focus on life.
Yes.
This moment.
Yes.
Because when we focus on this moment and value, I'm here, have a breath, I woke up again, I'm grateful for this day. Irregardless of what's going on internally, it makes your quality of life that much better. If we have a higher quality of life, that we're thinking about it, we do have a better chance to survive and have a higher quality of life, not longevity. I think that's where we're getting, we're living longer, but are we living
better? Yes. It's like, no one wants to be 100 if you're stuck in bedridden. But if you can be 90 and still driving and playing with great grandkids and taking trips, yes, we want to live longer, but we want to live better. And you get both when you treat your body well and treat your mind well. Then you can have that quality of life right now, because there's so many people who are, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who are in chronic pain, who are in chronic just not feeling well. And that could be changed with the lifestyle changes that we're talking about right here. Yeah. So that quality of life is everything. And we can't wait for, promises of what's going to happen after. We need to cherish the life we have today and make it fun, make it wonderful. And that's what we're here for, to have a good life right now.
Yeah. And, I'll just share this. And this is sort of how I coach people and understanding of where people on, people want change. People are scared of their health. They're fearful. They want to be healthy, but they don't know what that is, what it looks like, what it feels like anymore. And we tell them in our wellness center, you've got to make changes in many areas of your life to change the outcomes. You just can't work on one thing. And I said, if you really want to know, if you continue the path that you're on right now, our wellness center is on a senior citizen, a very large senior citizen campus where independent living across the street is assisted living. I says, if you want to see the prognosis, walk across the street.
Mm-hmm.
If in your 35, 40 years, it's just a matter of time you're going to be in that same state. But you can reverse that by making decisions for change that you could maybe even prolong it or maybe avoid it 100%.
I think we could avoid it 100%. We've got to expect more out of our lives. It's like the way people are dying today is not the way we should go. We should be, having a full life up until the day we die, and not, dependent on, people having to take care of us. It's very possible. There's something called, I know we have to wrap up, but there's something called the blue zones, where people are living well into their hundreds, up until hundreds, fully functional, fully well. And all of those zones are people who are following a primarily plant-based diet, have a good community support and exercise, and have a good quality of life. So look up the blue zones. That's how we want to age. We want to age well and not having to burden our children and grandchildren with taking care of us because we didn't take care of ourselves when we had the chance. That's what's happening. And so people see old age as this very sick, frail thing, when that doesn't have to be the case at all.
Yeah. You hear people all the time, I'm 60 and they have a vision what that looks like. And that's what they support that with lifestyle. I've really appreciated everything we've talked about today, bringing a new level of awareness. And I think for making change, we've got to have a passion for what we do, be able to share it out there, get people to wake up. And I think you only can do that is you only make change in one of two ways. A sudden emotional impact. That's where you had a sudden emotional impact when you were diagnosed. Oh my God, I got to make a change. I got to do something. That's not usually where we want to be. That's usually negative.
Right.
Well, the other way is through awareness with a new idea attached to an emotional level to get another outcome. That's the only way you change behavior. Yours was that sudden emotional impact.
Right. And I'm like, don't wait for that. Don't wait for that. Just see the example and make the change now based on the information apps. Because it's so much easier when you're not under duress.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. In closing, I put up your Facebook there. Is there a website that you want me to put up?
Absolutely. My website is my name, rubylathon.com. So yeah, if you go to the website, you can find the links to my food delivery, to my courses, and I have a wealth of information on the website. So yeah, you definitely want to go there, and also sign up for my newsletter that I send out monthly, with good information, recipes, tips, health info, all of that. So go to the website, rubylathon.com, and get connected there.
And I'm going to put that up so everybody has. Is that correct, Ruby?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So I encourage everybody out there, take it, share it, subscribe, take this and share it out with your friends, family. We're only one drop of pebble to make an impact on somebody's life in a very significant way.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you being the pebble here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great chatting with you today.
All right. I want to put you in the back room, so hold on tight, and I'll sign us out here. And I thank you very much.
All right.
I'm so grateful. There we go. I'm so excited for what her message and what she's sharing. It's just one element of the elements that we need to look at in our health is our nutrition, our diet, and those type of things are so critical. And be a student of your health. Take responsibility, own it. Yes, we need Western medicine. We need some of those things out there, but question them and find alternatives. That's the whole method here. So we want to create a community of people like Dr. Lathon and share that good news out there. Make a difference in somebody's life. Take control of your own health. Every week, my goal is to have somebody on that may have a modality or a different way to integrate those things to improve one's health outside what we call the traditional way to looking at health. It's failing us, and it's our responsibility to take control of our own health. Let the inner doctor within us do its job if we give it the right resources. So I'm so grateful to have her on today as my very first guest. This is an inaugural presentation, and I'm really excited to have her on, kicking this platform off. With that all said, next week It would be Wednesdays. We moved it to Tuesday because conflicts in scheduling, but every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Time, or 2 p.m. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to back up. Here we go again. Tom Ginn and his ADHD. We're going to go. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. Every Wednesday, we're going to have a subject, a speaker, a guest on, bringing good, valuable resources to improve your health. Without our health, we can't accumulate anything in wealth. And when I say wealth, it's not just about what's in our assets in our bank account. Our wealth is our quality of our life. I want to have that type of wealth in my life. Not how long I'm going to have it, but what I have today. Can I maintain it tomorrow and the next day, one day at a time? High quality life. So with that all said, everybody have a great day.